So I decided to do a video essay on the topic of grief, of death, of rituals of mourning, culturally and individually. I want to start with a particular something I learned in my process of preparing for a talk I had to do in the school I taught then in Lagos on culture. I've learned that the Toraja people of Indonesia practice what they call manene, a ritual mourning whereby they believe that the dead person is not dead until the rituals are done with, in the sense that until they have used the rituals to pass them into the other world, into the underworld, or into the realm of the dead, through these rituals, so to speak. So now, this manene is even more interesting because there's a lot of this kind of culture, this kind of customs in a lot of African countries, a lot of African tribes. But this particular one, it emphasizes the symbolic death of the person. For example, someone can die right now, someone will fall dead with their body becoming lifeless, but then they are still treated as if they are alive. They are fed, they are bathed, and they are treated as if they are alive until the ritual is done with. Sometimes it might take days, sometimes it might take weeks for this ritual to be done with. In this sense, that person is still alive symbolically. I think the aim of the essay I wrote before was to establish that death itself can also be seen as not just an individual something, but a cultural something, a social event, a symbolic event, and that it has to be rectified through symbolic means. And this particular tradition in the Indonesian, this particular Indonesian people, just makes you think about this symbolic death again, and the way we as human beings we relate with death, with grief, with mourning. Now, why I said this is that it is also very striking to me because while growing up, experiencing the death of my loved ones, that of my grandfather first, which they buried in his room, there's a sort of respect to this. We don't really take our dead to the mortuary, or to the cemetery, so to speak. But they buried him in his room. And at the time, because we did not have our own rooms with the grandchildren, we moved from our grandmother's room, which we shared with her before, to my grandfather's room and started to stay there. And because the people that did the flooring, they did not do a very great job with it, the thing started to depress. And so, at every night, I have this feeling whenever I'm sleeping in that room that he might just wake up. It's an irrational feeling though. He might just wake up, and which I would say that irrational feelings are not really, they are even human to even begin with. This type of irrational feelings, that he would just get up from the grave and he would confront me with something that is very airy, that is very ghostly, that is very shocking, that I will be shocked out of my wit to a certain that. So there was this fear in me, and I explained it to be the fact that maybe I actually felt he was still alive deep down in me, or maybe I did not feel it, but the vivid imageries of him, of his life with me, of the things he did, and the memories that highlighted his characters, what he was so too very sharp in me that they felt as if he was still alive. And I'll still come to this, that the image of someone, the idea of someone that you have in your head is entirely different from the person, even if you know the person very well. And the image of someone that a lot of people, the collective have of him, of being the president, of being the father, of being the mother, of being this, of being the pastor, of being the usher in church, all these are images that still did not, even if it encompass a little bit of the character of the person, eventually we realize that the individual is not fully integrated, or rather the idea of, or the singularity of the individual cannot be fully integrated into the collective. So the image of my grandfather in my head was so very alive that the this particular aliveness brought about a symptomatic fear of him coming back to the land of the living in a very obscene way, so to speak, that inspires fear. So the Toroja people do not have this fear. In fact, they are able to relate with their dead one as if it is alive, because the dead one did not consider the dead person dead until the rituals has been done. There are a lot of traditions like this where people occasionally, ceremonially, exhume or dig up their dead one and treat them as if they are treating someone that is alive, wearing them jewelries, clothes, cleaning them, perfuming them, and treating them as if they are alive in maybe yearly, or however they do it. I think it's in I've forgotten the place. They actually practice this. I'm not whether it is Madagascar or somewhere that this is done. That occasionally, ceremonially, they like a sort of festival. They assume their loved ones and treat them that treat them as if they are alive. And so, to a certain, my point of bringing this up is, how do they think of death? And I will compare this to the psychoanalytic way in which people think of death and see how they juxtapose in what we can take away from this. So um, I also talked about the fact that the psychoanalytic way of death in the